Okay, so let's get into it. This is a recording for the Edexcel practice paper F, which is going to be the applied side of first year A-level maths. I'm really just going to focus in on the statistics questions that we have here, and we'll revisit mechanics in another video. So let's get into it, remembering that you're going to need to use some formulae and statistics tables potentially, and your calculator. So a good use of all three of these should set you up. Let's go. Question 1. Explain what is meant by the word population. So a population, not the geography version of the word, but the mathematical version of the word, means a complete collection of items or individuals, usually that we're then going to go ahead and investigate. But referring to a complete collection of individual items or people which are relevant to your investigation is really what we want to get. So here I have a complete collection of items or individuals of interest. Moving on, Jo needs to conduct a survey to investigate the type of kitchen cleaner people prefer. She wants a random sample of people who use kitchen cleaners. She decides to stand in a busy high street on a Saturday afternoon and attempt to get shoppers to answer her questions. State the sampling technique Jo has used. Okay, well, clues in the question here. It's quite a vague clue that we have here, but the fact that she's attempting to get shoppers to answer her questions, any shoppers that come by, she isn't going to turn anybody away. She doesn't have a quota of which category of shoppers she's looking for. She would actually take any shoppers that turn up. This sounds a little bit desperate. This is convenience sampling. Okay, so just people who are in front of you are those who become your sample. Also called opportunity sample. It's anyone who you have the opportunity to ask a question from. So this is convenience sampling. Okay, moving on. Having been unsuccessful in obtaining enough data from her previous attempt, Jo decides to look at the electoral register for a town and selects a sample of 50 households to contact. She decides to select every 10th name on the electoral register to add to her sample. State the sampling technique Jo has used. This, once again, where's the clue? For me, it was here, every 10th name. All right, so this is a sampling technique that uses intervals of 10. So the only sampling method that has a technique like that is systematic sampling. And lastly, we were asked to give 2 reasons why Jo might again be unsuccessful getting the data required using this sampling technique. Okay, so one of the issues that I see here is that it does say Jo has decided to select every 10th name. Has she calculated this interval, or she's just randomly full intervals of 10 and gone with it? This may not be the correct interval for her to get enough data for her investigation. So there may not be enough households on the electoral register in the first place to give the required amount of data. So there may just be 100 households, and if she's chosen an interval of every 10th name, then she may not, well, she may only just get 10 pieces of data. Okay, secondly, Jo was initially looking to get a random sample, and actually systematic sampling is not random. To be random, every single household needs to have a probability of being part of the sample. But when you're working with intervals, as soon as you've chosen that interval, there's a lot of households that are immediately eliminated from the sample. Okay, so Jo actually seems to be having quite a hard time getting herself a sample that would firstly be usable, and secondly set her up with some good data. So what would be a good sampling technique? I recommend actually that she goes one step further than the opportunity sample she started off with. She should turn that into a quota sample. So she can categorize the types of people that she wants to gather data from. Still in the supermarket, she can be asking people the questions that she needs to, and it actually takes away the need for any sort of sampling frame. Simple random sampling would need a sampling frame, but with the quota, she just needs to keep on going until the quota is filled. So once again, quota sampling, she will need to set the quota for each category so she knows she's going to get a sufficient amount of data. That was one of the issues she had. She wasn't getting the data required for her investigation. And then she just needs to keep on going until the quota for each category is filled. Okay, Another benefit of quota sampling is she doesn't need a sampling frame, and if she is standing on the street or standing in a supermarket, she's not going to have a sampling frame, a list of every possible person who might be included in her sample. So without a sampling frame, quota sampling seems a good choice. Be careful to look out for how many marks for each of these questions, but a response like this should be worth all your marks.